Dragons. Powerful. Magical. Horrifying. To the Chinese, they provide protection and wisdom, and even join 11 other real animals on their zodiac. Most people are fascinated with them. Everyone loves dragons. But are they real? Most would say no. Yet dragons were known to be real animals, and human history is full of encounters with them. In addition to them being animals or real creatures, they were also known to have been spiritual entities. Some people believed that they were physical and spiritual, and they could manifest accordingly. These were truly mystical, magical creatures. In China especially, but in Asia in general, dragons are associated with nobility, honor, success, and luck. In ancient China, during the times of the emperors, dragons were meant to symbolize great power, authority, imperial power, good fortune, and strength. Dragons are also associated with weather phenomena. They are believed to control rain, typhoons, floods, and water in general. And when I show you these videos of purported instances of dragons caught on camera, keep this in mind. Here are some of the most famous dragon reports in history. In the 3rd century, in India, the historian Flavius Philostratus, he detailed many accounts of dragons, said they were about 45 feet long, sluggish, and had no crest on the top of their heads. They dwelled on the tops of mountains, but mostly inhabited the marshes, and said there were swarms of them. In the 3rd century, there were swarms of these beings, these huge 45 feet reptilian dragons in India. Now, these historians recorded what they saw. They did not consider these to be mythological creatures. I believe we do today because we don't realize they were real. Just on the Chinese zodiac, all the zodiac animals are real, including the dragons. From the 8th to the 13th century in China, this was the imperial China. And Huangdi was an emperor of the Song dynasty. It ruled from 960 AD to 1279 AD. It's known as the mythical yellow emperor. The ruler of heaven is what he was called. And the historical records say that he raised dragons in his palace. And supposedly, they create these legends saying that they descend from dragons. And the mythical story of him riding on a dragon to the summit of Taishan in order to sacrifice to his gods. They say his chariot was also driven by dragons that he had in his employ. So these were not only real animals, but they served a mythical and almost divine status in imperial China. And being a Christian, we may look at these creatures a little differently. We know that they are mentioned in Scripture, both as, real things, but also in reference to the fallen beings. The famous explorer Marco Polo in the 13th century reported that these dragons, he called them huge serpents. However, they had short legs, but that most of them were more serpentine, closer to what you'd see in the Chinese or the Japanese dragons, the long serpent-like bodies with the short legs and often with wings, sometimes not. He saw them and reported that they were wide enough to swallow a man whole, and that they were as lethal as tigers with glaring eyes and had large, sharp teeth, and were located on the upper part of their trunks is where their short legs were, and that they had 3 big claws. So he saw them on his travels in the province of Karazhan. So this is an explorer. He reported some amazing things, but there's no doubt that these things were seen. In the 1400s in Suffolk, England, there's a report of the Suffolk dragon. And this story is in the British Museum that talks about the early Anglo-Saxon account of dragons in 1405. In the Chronicles of Johannes and Trocolo and Henrici de Blaneford. I'm sure I said that wrong. It's probably Gaelic. And it describes how a small town in Suffolk, England, east of England, was terrorized by a dragon. Now, this is similar to those medieval type stories of the big dragons flying over and burning down villages and that kind of thing. But there's tons of stories in the Middle Ages in Europe. There's actually a book of dragons. But this dragon was said to have been huge in its body with a crest on its head. The ones reported in England did not have a crest. Teeth like a saw with a very long tail. It had slaughtered a shepherd. After that, it ate many of his sheep. When the people in the town hounded him with arrows, the dragon took off in the marshes and never came back. So he either died or learned his lesson, you know. In the 16th century in Congo, in Africa, there is a collection of recordings in the original voices from various writers. These people were first-hand eyewitnesses that reported to have seen dragons from Italy, from the Philippines, and they described creatures that were big as rams and had wings like bats, with long tails and jaws with several rows of teeth. Their skin was blue and green and had no scales, but kind of looked like they'd have it, like rough skin, and they only had 2 feet located on the upper part of their trunks. Now, this sounds almost like a pterosaur. So these are reported to this day there. And some have been, these pterosaur type creatures have been reported in America, believe it or not, and in Papua New Guinea. And there's video of those, which I did not include with this collection. I took examples of spiritual dragons that I believe may be spiritual in the second heaven, that are associated with weather phenomenon, as well as real flesh and blood ones that I knew were not CGI, and most of them have more than one angle so that you can see it from several different sources verifying it. Besides this one I'm going to tell you about, you can look up a famous account of Alexander the Great, who saw dragons when he was invading India. This confirms what the historian said. But this account is in 1890, Tombstone, Arizona. A couple of cowboys said that they were shooting at a huge pterosaur-like dragon that they claim 92 feet long with a 160-foot wide wingspan. I believe this may be what the Indians saw as the Thunderbird. But I don't believe it was a hoax, as they said. It was reported in the epitaph, the Tombstone epitaph, in 1890. And I think they were telling the truth. I do believe these are spiritual as well as physical creatures that God made. Purported dragon encounters are reported today. And that's what this video is all about. I showed you clips from multiple angles, multiple witnesses, ones that I knew were not CGI. As Christians, we believe in the spirit realm we cannot see. And I believe that dragons were a creation of God, a real animal, as well as they can manifest as spiritual beings. So, enjoy these clips. Let me know what you think.